Good afternoon. Hopefully, everybody can hear me okay. I know it's been a couple of months since I've been live, so I wanted to go live today. And as many of you guys know, if you follow the true crime community, the trial started for Harmony Montgomery today. And I just kind of want to touch on a couple of things. I do work all day long, so I did get to miss a lot of what was going on today. However, I do try to keep up on breaks and whatnot as far as what exactly we have going on. So many of you guys know that Harmony was missing for several years before anyone decided to report her missing or do anything about her missing. So trigger warning, and I am livid. This is a case I take close to my heart, so do please use your self-care. If you are easily triggered, this is probably not a good life to be in. So Harmony Montgomery is still missing. She allegedly was murdered and dismembered by her father, Monster Adam Montgomery. Her trial did start today, or his trial rather, for her did start today. And it really doesn't surprise me that he waived his right to be in court today. So that's what we started out with this morning, was transport van got there to get him, and he refused the transport. Again, being a coward that murders your child, I'm honestly not surprised that he did not show up in court today. My personal opinion, he's going to try every little tactic he can to get out of actually being held accountable for what he did to Harmony. I know that there was a lot of breaks and things that were taken during the trial today, so I am going to just kind of touch base on the trial and a few other points that I would like to discuss. So I'm going to pull up Court TV, and I'm going to screen share Court TV. Hi, Dandy. Hello. If you guys aren't subbed up to Frankie, make sure you guys go sub up to Frankie, because she did a phenomenal live today on Harmony's trial. So hopefully Nightbot's awake and working. So I'm going to drop Frankie's link, and I'm also going to drop Crime Curious's link, because Jen did an amazing job with timelines and some other information that me and her actually worked together on. She's a great person, and she did do some amazing work on getting a timeline together and some other informations. And of course, SF Investigates Steve went out and was boots on the ground and did some driving around to kind of give us an idea of what the areas were that we were seeing in the documentation. So those of you that don't know Harmony's case, I do have a playlist on my channel, and I'm going to actually share the map story that I did for her, which will provide a little bit more insight into her case. So first, I'm going to pull up the screen share here. All right, make sure I got all my ducks in a row here, because guys, I haven't been live in a couple of months, so please make sure you bear with me, because it's been a long road to getting Mr. Sunshine recovered, and life happens live. There's Crime Curious. Welcome in, love. Like I said, if you guys are not subbed up to her, make sure you go sub up to her. She does some amazing work. Great advocate, an author, just phenomenal person. So I do have the trial pulled up here. I'm not going to share the chat. I just want to share what was brought forth today, and it's going to be a lot of skipping through because I want to hit main points. I literally just got off work, so hopefully you guys can hear that. They're going to read the charges. Again, this is a true crime channel, so I'm not going to throw out a bunch of trigger warnings, but make sure you do self-care. And trigger warning, if I use any kind of language that offends anyone, this case I hold very deeply to my heart.
Rise for the jury.
Because at the beginning when I first heard her name and her case, I screamed at the rooftops for people to please help bring awareness to her case, and nobody wanted to help. You couldn't get people away from the case out of Tennessee. No disrespect meant to that child, but I was a mod for a large channel, and I begged her to please share Harmony's case, and I was.
All right, I'll ask the jurors to please remain standing. Everyone else, you may be seated.
Members of the jury, I'm going to swear you in now. So if you could please raise your right hands, and at the conclusion of the oath, if you would please say, "I will." You so solemnly swear or affirm that you will carefully consider the evidence and the law presented to you in this case, and that you will deliver a fair and true verdict as to the charges against the defendant, so help you God. Thank you. Members of the jury, you can be seated. I'm going to now read the charges to you in this matter. There's 5 charges. The first is charge ID 1937947C. This states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester, New Hampshire, in the state of New Hampshire, between approximately July 1st and July 22nd, 2019, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of second-degree assault, in that Adam Montgomery did knowingly cause bodily injury to HM, date of birth 6/7/2014, a child under the age of 13, by striking her in the face. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge in this matter is charge ID 2027112C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire, on or about December 7th, 2019, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of second-degree murder, in that Adam Montgomery did recklessly cause the death of Harmony Montgomery, date of birth 6/7/2014, a person under 13 years of age, under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to the value of human life, by repeatedly striking Harmony Montgomery on the head with a closed fist. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge is charge ID 2027113C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire, between approximately December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of falsifying physical evidence, in that Adam Montgomery, believing that an official proceeding, as defined in RSA 641:1, Roman numeral 2, or an investigation was pending or about to be instituted, did purposely alter, destroy, conceal, or remove the body of Harmony Montgomery with a purpose to impair its verity or availability in such proceeding or investigation. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge in this matter is charge ID 2027114C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester, New Hampshire, at Manchester, between December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020, did commit the offense of abuse of a corpse, in that the defendant did purposely and unlawfully removed, concealed, or destroyed the corpse of Harmony Montgomery or any part thereof. And this is against the peace and dignity of the state. And then the last charge is charge ID 2027115C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire, between approximately December 7th, 2019 and January 4th, 2022, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of tampering with witnesses and informants, in that Adam Montgomery, believing that an official proceeding as defined in RSA 641:1, Roman numeral 2, or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, did purposely attempt to induce or otherwise cause Kayla Montgomery to testify or inform falsely. said acts being contrary to the form of the statute in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant, Adam Montgomery, has been arraigned on these charges and he has pleaded not guilty. And of this, he puts himself upon his country for trial, which country you are. Assistant Attorneys General Benjamin Agati and Christopher Knowles for the state have joined the issue, and you are to say by your verdict if the defendant, Adam Montgomery, is guilty of the crimes whereof he stands indicted or not guilty. Hearken to the evidence. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the reading of the charges. As I was ranting, I don't think the judge.
Members of the jury,
Yeah, she's going to read jury instructions. We're not going to listen to jury instructions. They're all pretty standard. You guys have watched any trials, you know what jury instructions are. So that's the gist of what happened reading the charges. Of course, I am going to go ahead and voice my opinion that Adam was not in court today. He chose to not be at court today, which is, not beyond his history. A lot of the information that brought the charges that they were able to bring on him is, of course, from the information that was provided by Kayla, who was also in jail and is currently incarcerated. She was charged for food stamp fraud because she continued to collect food stamps from Harmony after she knew that Harmony was no longer with us. The jurors also were able to take a field trip today. Of course, we were not privy to that because, it's the jury, and the jury's identity are protected for their own protection. So again, I'm going to jump through.
and then we will wait for the bus to come, and when
This here is where the judge is going to instruct the jury that they're going to go on the field trip to see some of the things and places that are involved in her case. So something else that I do want to share, let me go ahead and see if I'm not even sure if it's on this. I do have it pulled up. Okay, so we're going to just jump right into opening statements.
That you're going to be putting forward.
case with a view. We will be traveling to several locations within the city of Manchester to observe certain areas you will be hearing testimony about. The purpose of the view is to make the testimony you will hear more understandable. If you have the opportunity to look at a scene, the testimony may make more sense to you. Your obligation on the view is to look as carefully as you can and to remember what you see as well as you can. You may not ask questions. You may not take any notes or measurements. You should look carefully at what the lawyers will be pointing out to you. What you see on the view is evidence in this case. Please stay as close together as possible so that you will all be viewing the scene from approximately the same perspective. If you cannot hear or see, please call that to my attention or to the attention of one of our court officers. After the view is completed, you may not revisit the scenes on your own during trial. Also, you may not engage in any discussion among yourselves or with anyone else concerning what you see at the view. As you know, you are not to talk with each other or with anyone else about the case until the end of the trial when you are conducting your deliberations. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, counsel will have the opportunity to make their preview statements to you concerning what they expect you will be seeing.
Okay, so I misspoke. That's not opening statements. These are preview statements
On the view. Yes, you may.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
And I can't turn him up. I apologize, and there's no closed caption.
And first of all, since it's my first opportunity to talk to you as the jury, big J, as opposed to the little j, let me thank you again for your time that you're going to be putting forward not only today but throughout the trial. It's very important both to society, to the government, to the citizens, and it is very, very much appreciated. The first part of your job, for the most part, is going to be taking place in this room. The vast majority of it dealing with the witnesses and the exhibits that you see. But as you just heard from Judge Messer, another part is going to be the view. This is evidence, what you're going to see today. It is going to be work on the view. You're going to have to walk around in 2 different locations, and the rest of them will require you to look out the windows of a bus to be able to take into account the neighborhoods that you were in. I'm going to explain every place that we're going to go in just a moment, and the defense counsel will also have that same opportunity. Together, we are going to see where this happened. You're going to get to see the same places, the same locations in person that you are later on going to see and hear evidence at trial. And you've already heard, again, Judge Messer's instruction. You should consider today's view to be like evidence. In a few minutes, we are going to get on a bus, maybe about now, and we're going to see a couple different locations in Manchester. In some ways, it's going to be the beginning of a journey that you will likely never forget. This is also the last journey that Harmony Montgomery took while she was alive, and where her body went afterwards. It's a journey that's into the actions of the defendant on that day and the days forward. And we're going to drive by places where Harmony was first assaulted, where she was later killed, where she was later consolidated and crushed. And then finally, different other locations of where the defendant had her in the city. What you are going to see today is part of the evidence. Some of the locations that we're going to drive by, we are just going to pass by in the bus for a minute, and the bus is going to pull over to the side of the road. So you have an opportunity to look at that location and take in the surroundings. And on 2 of the locations, we will physically get out. One will be a parking lot, and the other one will be an intersection. We will not be going into any residences. Later on, you're going to hear testimony about different homes. We may be driving by an apartment complex today, but we will not be going inside in the actual rooms where Harmony was, or where Harmony later was kept. So we will be outside for the 2 times that we get out of the bus. So before we do that, I want to kind of start at the beginning. The first place that we're going to go to, and this is Miss Johnson, forget my art skills, high school. We're going to start at the courthouse. And the first place that we're going to go to is we're going to go down past Elm Street. Definitely not to scale. We're going to come across Merrimack, and we're going to go up here on Market Street. And at that point, we're going to pull the bus over to the side of the road, and you're going to be able to look out, and I would say look out the right-hand side of the bus to the area of 20 Market Street. That's the location of the methadone clinic where the defendant took Harmony that morning with the rest of the family inside a 2010 gray Chrysler Sebring. When you're there, I want you to be able to take into account just the outside of the building and also look at the neighborhood. I want you to see the number of other businesses that are nearby, the number of other cars that are nearby, the number of the amount of foot traffic that may be there while we're there. You're going to hear in opening arguments that it was at that first location outside the methadone clinic that the defendant came out from getting his medication, got into the car, and understood that Harmony had had an accident, saying, "Where's the effect of really Harmony again?"
Objection.
Approach. Okay, so while they approach, I'm going to vent just a little bit. So Dandy says, I did not hear him say that she was crushed earlier. What the actual? I only wish he gets some prison justice. I'm sure he will get some prison justice because this man is sick. What he did was absolutely disgusting. And some of the details that you're going to hear in this case are going to absolutely make your stomach turn. If you have read any of the documents on her case, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And Kayla assisted him in trying to, for lack of better terms for YouTube striking me, dissolve what he could of Harmony, dismember Harmony, tried to make her remain smaller so he could take them with him. He took her to work with him in a bag, consolidated and crushed. I said, so some of these details that we're going to hear are not going to be things that we've heard previously. We know that she was
Ladies and
dismembered.
gentlemen, that objection is neither is neither sustained or withheld. The state will clarify. Go ahead.
When we're at that location, later on, you're going to hear testimony that at that location, when Adam came out from getting his medication, your testimony that he sensed and smelled that heart after the afterwards, and that's where the assaults began of striking. That's why it's important for you to look around, to see what else and who else is there, and to know what that area looks like. From there, we're going to then come back onto Elm Street. Probably do a loop around. Go north on Elm. Then we're going to go up to Webster Street at the top of Elm. And that's right over where you get past where you can go on the bridge, the big Brady Sullivan Tower there. We're going to take Webster Street out. And here, we're going to go out on Daniel Webster Highway. And there's a Burger King. When we get to the Burger King again, we won't be getting out of the bus. We'll be staying inside, and you'll have a chance to look at that parking lot. What the state is asking you to do is to pay close attention during that drive. How many stoplights roughly are we going through? What are the road conditions like? How long does it take to get there? You're going to hear testimony later on about that same drive. You're going to hear testimony how during that drive, the defendant's assaults continued. He continued to hit Harmony as they stopped at red lights, as they stopped at stop signs. That's why you need to pay close attention during that drive. And we're going to go out to that location. After we've had a minute or two to sit in the bus there at Burger King, and you've had a chance to see the traffic flow, see what cars are like. At that time, we're then going to turn around. We're going to come back down Webster, continue north on Elm, and then we're going to cut over to an area on West River Drive, approximately 59 West River Drive. And there, we're going to make our first stop where we get out of the buses. 59 West River Drive is one of the street locations for Colonial Village Apartments. It's right up on, you can see poorly drawn river. It's right on the backside there. We're going to be pulling in between those buildings and going to a very large back parking lot that's behind there. This is where you get your testimony that the defendant lived in his car after they had been evicted from their Guilford Street home, and where the defendant kept Harmony and the rest of his family after they left Burger King, after he continued to hit her, and drove back there to eat his food while Harmony was moaning. You're going to hear testimony that that's where he used his drugs while Harmony died. When you're there, I'm asking you to notice the number of apartment buildings that are nearby. Look at the number of cars that are in the parking lot, how big that parking lot is. I'm also going to ask you to take notice.
No, I didn't see your picture on your community post. I literally just got off work. I have it saved on Twitter where I saw it earlier.
Where different cars can park. Notice all of that while you're there. It's going to be more than 1 or 2 minutes.
Thank you, I'm
So you
curious.
can get out, you can certainly walk around, take your time to really look in that area and look at the different details that are there. Also look up at the side of the building. I'd like you to know whether or not you see lights on the side of the building that illuminate that parking lot, whether there are street lights that illuminate that parking lot. So do that while you're there. Once we're done, we'll get back on the bus. And we're going to drive back towards the city, back on West River Road, back to Elm, and then south to the intersection with Webster. The buses are going to pull over on the side here, and we're going to get back out. You'll hear testimony that it was here that the defendant's Gray Sebring died in the intersection. That it was here that where, with his family, the car stopped working. And it was here, just before he needed to get a tow, you'll hear how he went to the back seat and found that Harmony was no longer alive. I want you to look very closely around that intersection. Look at the traffic going through that intersection. The number of people that were available at that intersection. We're also going to hear the testimony that at that time, when you realized that she was dead, that when you look at the different businesses around, I want you to remember that when later on you're hearing testimony how his actions was to take Harmony and to stuff her in a duffel bag. You'll also hear later a trial from a tow truck driver, and you'll hear about a gas station on the corner. So while we're in the intersection, and we're not going to stay there.
Oh, I'm so glad, Jen, that you were able to make it up there because of Mr. Sunshine's wreck that he had and spent all that time in the hospital. I wasn't able to take the time off to be able to come up there from work. I'm so furious that I wasn't able to be there, but thank you so much for being a warrior for Harmony. You guys, if like I said, if you're not subbed up, definitely sub up to Jen. And she didn't bring a bullhorn or a media pass. Woohoo! Way to go! That's my girl. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let this play through, and then I've got Jen Crime Curious. I've got her community post pulled up, and I'm gonna share some other stuff too. And if you will, please, what time are you doing a recap tonight? And I'll make sure that I try my best to be there.
In the middle of the intersection, not saying we're going to stand on the sidewalk. But while you're there, you can move around. Take note of how far away that gas station is. In the short distance that the tow truck driver had to bring the car. And once we've spent enough time considering all of these, then we're going to be going to another address. You're going to hear a testimony about a lot of different addresses where the defendant brought Harmony's body out. We're not going to be going to the first two addresses. That one that involves, you'll hear involves a deck, another one that involves a red cooler. We're not going to be here. We're not going to be driving by one on Lake Avenue as well that you'll hear testimony later on about where he stored Harmony in the ceiling. Where we're going to go is 644 Union Street. So from this intersection, we'll come back onto the buses onto Webster, come over to Union Street, and head south. And the intersection of 644 Union Street is right at the intersection of Union and Orange. So Orange is the cross street. You're going to see two buildings. We're going to be stopping right outside here, 644 Main. Testimony that you will hear later on involves also a parking lot that's general in the back. But here, we're not going to be getting off the buses. You're not going to have to go inside.
Okay, I will. I've got your channel pulled up.
We're going to ask you to again look out the right-hand side of the buses and the size of the building. While you're there, we're going to ask you to please take a look at the number of apartments that are there, the number of neighbors that the defendant would have had based upon looking at those apartments. Look at the traffic, look at the lighting, look at the neighborhood. Later on, you're going to hear more testimony about that apartment and what took place in that apartment. Again, we will not be getting out of the buses. You do not have to go in that apartment. When we're done at Union Street, the buses will pull away. We'll come down to Bridge, back onto Elm, back south to Merrimack, and then back to the courthouse. I'm going to ask you to look at one last thing on this drive. As we come back to the intersection of Merrimack Street and Elm, roughly here compared to how I'm pointing right now, down at that intersection, right across the street from each other, there's the Thirsty Moose Tap House, which is right on Merrimack. Right across the street from that is a Chase Bank right now. When we drive back down Elm, and then we take that left-hand turn to come up Merrimack Street to come back to the courthouse, I'm going to ask you to look out the right-hand bus the window. We're not going to be slowing down there. It's Elm Street, we're too busy. But I do want you to look outside that Chase Bank. In the winter of 2020, you will hear testimony that that was not a bank, that that was the Portland Pie Company, pizza shop, that that was where the defendant worked. And you're going to also hear testimony that that was where, on one occasion, he ordered his wife to bring a CMC bag containing Harmony's body and stored it inside a freezer, seen by other witnesses. So when you hear those witnesses and they talk about Portland Pie Company, we're going to be driving by that location. Again, it's a bank now. It's not a pizza place anymore. But understand where that location is to be better understand the testimony that you're going to hear throughout the rest of this. And let me stress again, what you see on this view is going to be evidence. The locations we're stopping at. The Habit Methadone Clinic, the Burger King, up on Daniel Webster Highway, coming back to Colonial Village where we'll get out, to the intersection of Elm and Webster where we will also get out, the drive by 644 Union Street, and then back to Elm, and the drive by what was Portland Pie Company before we come back to the courthouse. This will be your only opportunity, as you heard from the court, to look at these places in person until the end of this trial. So take your time. If you need more time, please let the court staff know. We will stay longer in the parking lot. We will stay longer at the intersection. We have great deputies and bailiffs who will allow you to be able to explore the space in a safe manner so that you're not going to feel like you've got traffic right on top of you or anything like that. So do please take your time. But when you listen to the testimony from the different witnesses, These are 5 of the key locations that you're going to hear, so it's important that you know what they look like in person before you hear that testimony. Based upon that, again, after you hear this and if you see all of the evidence of this case, we'll ask you to return a verdict that is just. But I would also ask you if you would please do also pay close attention to defense counsel's comments about the view, because again, the more observations that you can make on today's view, the better it will be for you to understand the testimony you see later on. And it's a one-only shot. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so this
where
is
the trial
defense.
really begins for you, and you literally step into it. You step onto the bus, you go to places. These places are exhibits of your mind. These places in your mind, you apply to everything else that you hear, see, and consider in this case. The state said that this was the last journey that Harmony made. This is where the dispute starts. This is not the journey that Harmony made, but this will be the journey that we make today. And when we leave here and we go to Merrimack Street, that's a clinic. And it is a clinic that you'll hear testimony that Adam and Kayla frequented all the time, or quite a bit. And that when you're there, I want you to look. We can't recreate what was happening on particular days or particular weeks, who might have been coming and going at what time. So you actually can only look around and see the exposure. What is the parking there? What can you see? What is exposed? What is hidden? And then apply the evidence that you hear about events that may have occurred there, and consider is.
Okay, love Jim, be safe. Thank you again for all you do. You're awesome. You're one of my favorite humans. If you guys are not subbed up to Crime Curious, make sure you sub up to her. The link that I dropped in chat is her live tonight at 9:00. Crime Curious is amazing. She is there, boots on the ground for Harmony, and I'm blessed to be able to say that she's a friend and an amazing warrior for these babies. And welcome in, Birdie. Thank you for coming in.
Could this have happened? Put your mind to the testimony and apply it. This is what I saw. This is what I remember. This is what the witness is saying. It is your evidence, but it's evidence in the case. Then you'll go from the clinic to Burger King. And at Burger King, that's really very, very important to look at that entire layout. Again, we can't recreate the amount of traffic that was on a particular day or a week. We can't recreate any of that stuff. But you look at the parking. I want you specifically to look at how that drive-through works out when you make the order and then you pay the cashier and then you get your food. Take that into consideration. Take the time to think about a route through the drive-through. What is exposed? What is hidden? Who can see what from what angle? Think about the cashier. Think about all of the stuff around the drive-through. And actually, when you're there and stop, think about that from the time somebody pulls into the parking area. And again, you will be applying that to somebody else's testimony. And then you'll be thinking and applying that. Does this work? Does this not work? What's going on here? It is your evidence. From there, you heard that we're going to Colonial Village, and that is a place that you're getting out. So you will take the time. Traffic is going to be different from testimony that you hear about, but you want to look. What is exposed? What is hidden? From particular places, looking at the building, what can you see? What can't you see? We're going to direct you to particular places and areas and say, take a look and consider from this perspective something that pictures can never quite do. And you got to hold it in your mind and again, apply it to testimony as it comes in. This is an exhibit throughout the trial, not just for this afternoon. From the Colonial, you will go to Elm and Webster, which is a place that you're going to get out.
I want to speed this up.
And that
We've already
is
heard this, and she's just reiterating
really
what the
critical
state said.
on traffic because, again, it can't be recreated. But there is
I
going
do
to be
want to
testimony about
make sure to
traffic,
show the
about
respect, though,
reaction
to
traffic,
show
the car that's broken
the
down there,
defense's side as
and
well.
about what people did about the car, about what traffic was like because the car was broken down. And you want, again, look, what's exposed, what is hidden, and apply your exhibit in your head to the testimony that comes here at trial. Then fish shelter is the next place, and you're going to hear about information that happened inside fish shelter. So you won't have that sort of same perspective of what's exposed and what's not exposed, because you won't actually see that part. And there's testimony about fish shelter that is very disturbing, but you still need to go there so that you put it in place about the type of place that it is. And I'm sorry, I think it's objection.
Okay, so they're going to go into objection. So those of you that have followed her case know what fit shelter is. One of the places that there's several places that are involved in this. They were homeless. They stayed in different places. They stayed in halfway houses. Harmony was stored in several different places and in duffel bags,
Messing up my words.
tote bags.
Sorry. You will not be going into Union Avenue, but some very disturbing things occurred at Union Avenue. So you want to hold this into your head. Think about the building. Think about the location. Remember Union Avenue, even though you can't go into it. And I think you'll be very happy that you don't go into it. All of this is an exhibit inside of your head. And keep the names a little bit better than I did. I'm so sorry about that. But the location.
And Union Avenue is, in my opinion, the reason that her case was considered a high-profile case.
Corner at Merrimack and Elm. Keep that in mind. I also want you to keep in mind the distance from the two. Distance in this case is a little bit less important, but still something to keep in mind. As a person testifies about traveling from place to place, about how long does it take, the traffic lights, what is the delay. And I did forget it. Each of those traffic lights, I want you to look around again, just as you're going through the traffic lights. What's exposed? What is hidden? You're going to be on streets. Assume that everything on the street is exposed. Look around on the sidewalks and the areas around it as well. It's a difficult thing. Again, you're not taking notes. And you're going to have to remember this as you apply it to all of the testimony in this case. All of these locations are important, not necessarily for the reasons that the state said. There's a dispute going on here, but there is no dispute that all these locations are very, very important. And we can only ask you to pay attention as best you can. When we get there, we'll just remind you of perspective and specific areas to look at. I believe that we'll be going behind you to make sure that the bus stop's long enough for you to absorb all of the areas before you go to the next one, until you step out and actually walk around, starting at Colonial Village. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the preview statements. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send you back into the jury deliberation room. This is a good time to use the restroom, have a drink of water. I think we've got a little bit of time before the bus arrives. We will let you know when the bus arrives. And
Okay, so she's just going to send them back in. She's going to talk about the bus. So there's one more piece of this that's coming up that I feel is very important to share with you guys. This did happen today, mid the preview statements. I apologize for misspeaking with calling them opening statements. It's a little bit different. Of course, we know by state basis, some things are done in different courts. Some things are presented differently. You know, one thing I feel like I should bring up is important is the Idaho 4. We know that they tore the house down. This is another case, like the Murdaugh case that we're seeing, where the jury is being taken to these places to see, to be able to lay eyes on the places that this baby was taken, where she was dismembered. It's so important, in my opinion, to have that visual. And they're muted still, so it should pick up in just a moment.
you admit to each and every element of the offense of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse. Is that okay? And did you speak with your lawyers in detail about that?
Yes, I did.
And have you reviewed the opening statement in which they will tell that to the jurors?
Yes, I did.
And do you wish for them to acknowledge your guilt on both of those charges, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse?
Yes.
And do you understand that it would be the state's obligation to prove each and every element of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt before the jury could find you guilty? Do you understand that?
Yes.
and that by agreeing to allow them to acknowledge this in opening statements, the jurors can find you guilty of those two offenses, relying
Yes.
on that information. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, and that is what you wish to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any further question about that?
No, I do not.
All right. Anything further that the state requests?
As per the state request, we assume that the court would take that into account and make a decision whether or not he's making a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of essentially proof of his facts and proceeding this way, which the court will do.
Okay. So anything you want to add, Attorney Smith?
Not on that issue.
Okay. So, Mr. Montgomery, having heard from you that you've discussed this with your lawyers, that you've reviewed the opening statements, the draft of the opening statement, that you acknowledge that you understand that the burden of proof is on the state to prove each of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt, and that it's understanding that it is your desire for them to proceed with that strategy. The court does find that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of your rights, and will allow them to proceed on that basis. Okay?
Oh, yep.
Okay. So while I have you, today you did refuse transport, so I want to talk to you about tomorrow. As we discussed with you this morning, you can't change your mind midway through the day, but you can inform the court if you wish to come tomorrow. And what I would like to do, and each day thereafter. So you can come and we will send a transport for you. That is your absolute right. But as I explained to you this morning, it's also your right to waive your presence and for us to proceed in your absence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to instruct the Sheriff's Office and the Department of Corrections that someone will ask you tomorrow morning, do you wish to come to court today? We will have transport available to you if you want to come, but I am not inclined to send a car up there to pick you up only to have you refuse. So do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any concern about that procedure?
No, I do not.
Okay. So it is our intention to have someone ask you tomorrow morning whether or not you wish to come. And whenever they come to ask you that question, they're going to need an answer from you so that we have sufficient time to make sure that we get you down here in order for us to start the trial in a timely manner. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I believe your counsel will be speaking to you later, at some point later today.
Not today.
not
We
today.
can't.
Okay.
24-hour notice.
Okay. So that's going to be the procedure for tomorrow morning and each day thereafter of this trial, unless and until the court makes a different order on that. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything further from the state while Mr. Montgomery is present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Montgomery, you're free to go now. I appreciate that that you are speaking with us when we need to speak with you, because we are keeping the jurors waiting when we do this.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You're all set.
Okay, so roughly the next hour and a half is where they did take the road trip, if you will, the jury.
So just in terms of Mr. Montgomery's refusal to appear today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue an order that indicates that approximately an hour prior to his transport time from the New Hampshire State Prison shall ask Mr. Montgomery whether he will be accepting or refusing transport. If Mr. Montgomery informs New Hampshire State Prison officials that he will accept the transport, then transport will be informed and they'll immediately go up to the prison to get him. Okay, so that would mean he would be here on time. If he refuses transport, the Sheriff's Office will be notified and the transport vehicle will not be sent to New Hampshire State Prison. New Hampshire State Prison shall notify the Sheriff's Office and provide documentation of the refusal to the court. This process will continue each day throughout the trial and through the verdict unless and until there's further order of the court. Okay, and I just wanted to go through that with you because if you do speak to Mr. Montgomery tonight, you can let him know that that's the order I'm going to issue. We'll need to communicate with the court, will need to communicate with the prison, but that's the order I'm going to issue, and that's what I expect will happen. Okay. All right. I think I've asked them to come back at 8:45 tomorrow morning. I've given them the communication instruction. I told them that if their regular route home involves driving by any locations that we drove by today, that they can take their regular route, but they're not to
pay any extra attention to those areas that we were today. Right? Anything from that the state feels we should cover?
I guess two different parts are, first of all, with regards to the instruction and the order on transport, no, the state entirely agrees. Two separate, just for the record, there's been two separate colloquies with the court, between the court and Mr. Montgomery today. Certainly, it seems that he's very clear in his intentions of what he wants to do and what he does not. The state accepts that and doesn't challenge that in any way. We agree with the court's plan on how to deal with that moving forward. I think one of the
Okay, so the rest of this is just you guys. I don't want to play all of Court TV's content, so the rest of that is going to be them talking his transport and whether or not he'll be in court. Crime Curious is boots on the ground, and I did tell her that I would share this, so I want to share her picture that she took. She said, "This is the view. This view is the bus arrived at the courthouse to pick up the jury. Some correspondents are following the bus. Others are posting up at certain locations and waiting for the bus to arrive at a particular stop. No photos of the jury will be taken. See you guys tonight for the recap. Hashtag Justice for Harmony." And I did share her live. I'm going to grab that link again. So if you are not subbed up to her, make sure you sub up to Crime Curious. She's going to be live at 9 p.m. And she is boots on the ground. And Dandy says is admitting abuse of a corpse, basically admitting the guilt of the unaliving. No, it's not, sadly. It's not. It's him just taking at least a little bit of accountability that he is responsible. And I had that other ready, but I went ahead and just played that from Court TV straight from their website. And I want to share this as well. This is credit goes to Miss Red on Twitter. And it's probably going to be hard to see, guys. This is a motion for them to have the witnesses testify separately where they cannot hear each other. He doesn't want the witnesses to be able to hear each other's testimony. It's a snake in the grass. In my opinion, he's going to do everything he can and pull every little tactic that he can to keep from being held responsible or take any kind of accountability. Okay, I do want to share this. This is a map story. Actually, I'm going to drop the link in chat, and this link is also a short video on my channel as well, because as many of you guys know, I've covered Harmony's case for a while now. I begged bigger creators to please cover her case, but as I said, a lot of times it's the clicks and views and the YouTube revenue. If it doesn't bring in that, they don't want to touch the case. And at the time, everybody was covering Summer's case and all the drama and the mess that goes on in her case. And nobody would cover Harmony's case. Nobody wanted to say Harmony's name except a few of us. And a lot of us were screaming at the rooftops to please share her name, share her face, share her case. Many people know that part of her story is here in Florida, where her father, monster, Adam Montgomery, abused her. And he also made her clean toilets with her toothbrush. So he's a monster. This is Harmony's photo. It says Harmony Montgomery was born in June 2024 to Crystal Sawyer and Adam Montgomery in Massachusetts. The two would split shortly after Harmony was born. In fact, shortly after Harmony was born, Adam would be arrested and charged with larceny, carrying a firearm without a permit, discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a building or structure, in which he shot a man in the head. Adam pled guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 18 months in jail. Crystal would go on to have another child when Harmony was 2 years old, a boy. His name's Jameson. A sweet angel, mom, and father. July of 2018, Crystal loses custody. Crystal had her own battles with substance abuse. However, in July of 2018, she lost custody of both Harmony and Jameson. At the time, we don't have many details of the first 4 years of Harmony's life, but since she was eventually taken from her mother, I think it's fair to see she had her share of struggles during that time. Harmony and Jameson would go into the system together. Harmony, even at just 5 years old, felt protective of her little brother. The pair was very close. Troubled addiction and struggle. When Harmony was 2 years old, her mother had a baby boy, Jameson. Harmony loved her brother and often took care of him, even though she was darn near a baby herself. When Harmony was 4 and Jameson was 2, the children removed from the mother's care and put into foster care system. For a while, the two stayed together, the only belonging they had with them. Harmony's Tickle Me Elmo doll. Jameson had nothing. And when Harmony's dad received custody of Harmony in mid-2019, Harmony would leave her Elmo doll with her little brother so he would have something. Early 2019, Adam comes back for Harmony. Just shy of a year later, Harmony's dad re-enters the picture and gets custody of Harmony. Jameson would go into foster care. They were heartbroken and being separated, and Harmony ended up giving Jameson her Tickle Me Elmo doll, which was the sweetest thing for a 5-year-old child to do. Jameson went to live with the Miller family, and the Millers are amazing. They are phenomenal, who tried hard over the next couple of years to stay in touch with Harmony and her mother for the sake of Jameson. He still asks about his sister and cries for her, and the Millers were hoping to be able to keep the siblings connected. They even took Jameson shopping every Christmas to buy a Christmas present. Adam, who is now married to Kayla Montgomery, took Harmony to live with them in Manchester, New Hampshire. Crystal's last chat. In April of 2019, and this is said to be around Easter time, Crystal video chats with Harmony in what would be her last time talking to her daughter. She later told police that something seemed wrong in that call, that she thought Harmony seemed frightened. Every time Crystal would call, Adam would be able to check in on Harmony and speak with her. Adam wouldn't answer. Crystal and the Millers kept in touch, and she expressed her concerns with the Millers, letting them know that she would keep trying and that Adam would not let her speak to Harmony. They told Crystal if something was wrong and if Harmony needed emergency or temporary foster care, they would take her in. Yes, the Millers tried to get Harmony as well, but we know that the state failed her, and the judge gave custody to her monster, Adam, and that's where we are today. And then the judge retired. The black eye. In July of 2019, a relative saw Harmony and Adam at their house. Adam was now married to Kayla, and they had children together now themselves. When the family members saw Harmony had a black eye and allegedly told Adam that he punched her and kicked her around a bit. This person says they did not notify the Department of Children and Family Services, but their call was never followed up. We're going to hear him testify as well. Jameson was legally adopted. In November of 2019, Jameson is legally adopted by the Millers. They continue to keep in touch with Crystal, hoping desperately to get in touch with Harmony so Jameson can see his sister again. Adam won't take anyone's calls. And this is a mother desperate for help. Fast forward to June of 2020, Crystal tells the Millers that she cannot reach Adam. Another call is placed to DCF, but again, nothing is done. In July of 2021, Crystal and the Millers find Adam and Kayla on social media, but after attempting to reach out to them, they are blocked. In September of 2021, Jameson's adopted father, who is also a news reporter by trade, reaches out to one of Adam's aunts. She tells him that she hasn't seen Harmony in about 2 years. In November of 2021, Crystal calls the police and writes a personal letter to the mayor. Someone finally listens to her. Last seen reported. Harmony was last seen in late 2019 when she was 5, but she wasn't reporting missing until about 2 years later. No one would see or hear from Harmony after October 2019. Authorities would take note of her disappearance, however, until December of 2021. December of 2021, the search begins. The police try to locate Adam, believing Harmony is with him. They cannot find him. They also check with the Manchester City Schools, have no record of Harmony ever being registered there. Despite the fact that Harmony was thought to be residing in Manchester with her father, police track down Kayla Montgomery, who tells them that he left her in October and checked himself into a sober house. She said that she learned in November that they had left the facility with another woman and moved to Maine. Investigators then ask her about Harmony. She tells them that sometime in 2019, Adam said he was taking Harmony back to her mother and that she hadn't seen the little girl since. Authorities know that this isn't true, so the search for Adam intensifies. On December 31st, 2021, Adam Montgomery was found living in his car with his new girlfriend in Manchester. When he was asked about Harmony, he said that in 2019, her mother had came to the house to pick her up and that he hasn't seen her since. This conflicts with Kayla's story, and of course, we know that mom, Crystal, never was allowed to talk to her daughter or see her daughter early in 2019. Adam is questioned and denies knowing anything about where Harmony is. Then he refuses to speak to the police. Adam was arrested on January 4th, 2022, 2 years long investigations of a missing case of now 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery. Adam was reported violating the safety of the child. He was in legal custody, and the mother reported blamed the authorities for not taking a serious action against the accused father. The arrest was made for Manchester Police Department, but no lead regarding to the child's disappearance or her recent whereabouts had been made public, and that was true at the time, and her whereabouts are still not known. Kayla was jailed and then released. The stepmom of Harmony Montgomery, the New Hampshire girl, was vanished in 2019, but wasn't reporting missing for more than 2 years later. Was released from jail on a bail decision that was left the girl's mom angry and bewildered. She was arrested and charged with food stamp fraud after after Harmony had vanished, and that's Kayla. The search continues. Police have said that this is an active recovery mission. They have no evidence to show that she met foul play or some kind of harm. The precious baby is still missing, and there have been numerous vigils held for Harmony. CPS case release filed. There's a 101-page case files and release with the details of how the state failed Harmony and she slipped through the cracks. And 2 states allowed this child to be abused and go unnoticed for 2 years. That 101-page link can also be found on my channel. I do have a playlist for Harmony. Outcries. Social media and groups within continued to scream at the top of the mountains for the return of Harmony. You can join any social media platform in the U.S. and find this sweet little girl conversation somewhere to be fed in the heart and the minds of a person that is dedicated to finding this sweet angel and bringing her justice. Attorney General's office declared Harmony as a victim of homicide with investigators believing that she was killed sometime in 2019 in December in Manchester. Adam and Kayla, Harmony's bio father and his wife. Monsters. She was surrounded by real-life monsters and demons she had no control over. Adam Montgomery was questioned about the disappearance of Harmony. He refused to tell law enforcement where her location remains or her person is. She is still missing. Kayla Montgomery was arrested and released, questioned, lied, arrested, and now incarcerated, finally. Kayla has told law enforcement the gruesome details of what happened to Harmony. Documents released. Graphic details. Adam, Kayla, Harmony, and Kayla's younger children were in the car allegedly. Harmony had a personal accident, and Adam became furious and began to punch her in the face from the front seat of the car. Apparently, he hit her 3 times, and the last time allegedly felt something break in Harmony's face and made a comment, Kayla, he had really hurt her this time. Kayla testifies. Kayla Montgomery took the stand and testified that her husband stole a rifle shotgun from a friend's home in fall of 2019 and stored them in the attic of their home. Montgomery, 32, is serving a 3.5 to 7-year life prison sentence for lying to the grand jury investigating the disappearance and presumed death of her stepdaughter Harmony. Teared up when she initially took the stand in the Hillsborough County Superior Court in Northern District. She said she lied because she was scared. Sweet angel, fly high. Still missing remains have not been found. Adam, her monster, refuses to put her to rest. This is the red cooler where Harmony's remains were stored, and this is a court document. The link to these can also be found on my channel. This is the tote bag that Adam eventually put Harmony's remains in and took them to work with him. The walls and the ceiling, they're stained from being stored in the ceiling above the bed. So this is where you see the yellow here. This is where bodily fluids leaked from the bag that she was stored in and shoved in the ceiling. So I want to bring up some pictures of Harmony, since Harmony is the reason that I'm doing this, the reason that I've pushed so hard. And, you know, the sad thing is that like I said, I begged and pleaded and begged and pleaded for somebody, anybody to cover her case. And when they did the search, where the refrigerator was taken, that's when we started seeing some larger channels grab a hold of her case. Because, you know, once there's something that brings views and clicks and super chats, that's when they want to grab a hold of this case. And then you have a handful of creators like Crime Curious, Frankie, myself, and a few others that have absolutely just done some phenomenal advocating for Harmony. So our beautiful little face. Such a cutie. There's Kayla. These are missing flyers that were up. These missing flyers, believe it or not, see how this one says she is alive? People are sick. That was crime scene tape. We don't speak of that person that took that picture due to some other stuff that happened, but these are some pictures of what the jury was able to see today on their trip that they took out into the area of what would be Harmony's last trip, even though the defense says that there's some discrepancies in that. Either way, I have my own opinion. So when the refrigerator was removed, this is the river, just to give you guys an idea how close the river is. This is a photo. I think I'm going to leave this one up, that one of the advocates on Twitter asked me to make for her. And I made that a long time ago. I have several pictures that I have of Harmony that I did make. There's another one. This one's one of my favorites. For those of y'all that don't know, she loved Minnie Mouse. And if you've seen any of the visual information where Crystal dressed up as Minnie Mouse. But thanks to Brian Eaton, he was able to go there boots on the ground, and that's really where Harmony's case became a high profile case. So I love this. That's the original missing poster that I had done for her. This is a Easter photo, her little crystal wings on her. There's another sweet picture of her. Look at that face. Look at that smile. How could you hurt that baby? How could you bring harm to a face like that? Just a sweet little angel. This is another video that I did for her. That's my old channel name. It was more appropriate to change it to Mind of Monsters. I do still go by Sunshine, but it's more appropriate because that's kind of what I do here, is look into the minds of monsters. And Adam is definitely a monster. So this was her Amber Alert. It was removed. This is one of the original flyers that was made. Some good pictures of her. And there's a little picture in the right-hand corner of the collage in the top right-hand of her in a little Minnie Mouse little dress. Some more good pictures of her. Just a sweet, happy little girl. And normally don't put the monster beside the victim, but there will be a couple of these that do have the monster beside the victim, which would be Harmony, and bring Harmony home. This baby deserves to be put to rest. It's court documents. There's the little collage. One of the houses where they searched, nothing came up there. And I do know whose home that is, but we're not going to put that out there. This is one of the first interviews that Crystal had done. It was bio mom. There's a little photo of her. And I believe that's going to be a video. So I'm going to go back to the cute little picture of her. Actually, one of my favorites in the little red dress. I said I did have an advocate on Twitter that reached out to me and asked me if I could remove the background and put wings on her. And I did. So I guess my temper was a lot better than I expected it to be, because I really expected to just kind of come unglued. But in honor and the memory of Harmony, I'm going to try to keep my composure. This will be my Barely Alive series. I am starting that back up. I'm going to try to do a live after work every day, even if we just come on and hang out and chit chat. But I do want to make sure that I am back into the community and doing what I do, which is advocate and help where I can. So I appreciate everybody for being here. I know you guys had a long stream earlier with Frankie today. And, working all day, it's hard to stay in the lives. And she is very, very beautiful little girl. Absolutely. And yes, the Millers have suffered. They really have. And so is Jameson. Yeah, she does. Such a sweet little girl. She's very beautiful and failed by every adult that was around her other than the Millers that tried to take custody of her. Law enforcement failed her. DCF failed her. 2 states failed her. And her remains still have not been found. This is a case I hold close to my heart. Everyone was too busy using drugs or living their own life to be a parent to this baby. I would have gladly took her and gave her a beautiful home. And again, another big shout out to Crime Curious for being there, boots on the ground, and being able to be there for Harmony. I wish that my year had worked out better than it did, and I would be there as well, because I had every intention of being in that courtroom. And it really is disheartening that I wasn't able to be there for her. So I will be doing these lives in the evenings, kind of as a recap of the day, possibly my feelings of the day, and kind of how I'm handling this, I guess, is the best way to put it. But guys, like I said, I just got off work, so thank you everybody for being here. And do everything you can, Mama. Thank you. Thank you, Mackie. You're awesome. You girls are amazing. Love, 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 love. Love all you guys so much, man. Y'all make me feel so happy and welcomed. And I took a 2-month break from YouTube. I was still uploading shorts and kind of, comment on my community wall and things like that. But I did have some personal stuff that went down, and then some YouTube drama. And I don't do well with YouTube drama, so I took a break before I made any kind of stupid choices of possibly getting my channel taken down. And yes, I'm gonna say hi to everybody. And look at this, I need to take my evening shower and eat my dinner and kind of woo-saw from the day. So as always, guys, remember, if you see something, say something. It takes a village to raise a child. Subscribe, like, and share. Know that I love you and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without you, I wouldn't be here. Without my community, I would not be here. I'd be sitting here staring at myself and listening to myself rant. And that's not no fun for anybody. But you guys know I like to end my lives. We know that normal fathers don't treat their daughters like this. We know that normal human beings don't do these things to their daughters.
Ben. Let's see, I don't know. Let me think. Let me knock on Mr. Noggin. Who could trick us into doing that? Could have been Satan.
But as always, love you, love you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Have a beautiful night. Remember, hug your kids, hug your dogs, hug your husband, hug your wife, whichever your choice may be. Just always remember that you're loved in this community, and I always have a place for everybody. I hope to see everybody at 9 o'clock, and that's Eastern Standard Time, for Crime Curious's recap of the day today. So again, thanks for being here, and make sure you guys share out this video so we can get Harmony's face out there for everyone to appreciate the fact that this baby was failed.